Welcome to the bedroom. Um, Today is Tuesday, and it feels weird. Um, Hi, Nova Scotia, and I started the day off okay. Bye, Eliza. Have a good final exam. Um, it started off okay, but I think something felt off right away. Hi, India. Um, the exciting news is, and you know what, like, I've decided I'm gonna be full of spoiler alerts. Like, this channel is so weird that I figured I'd just keep you guys updated on what I'm doing, because none of the timeline will make sense if I keep anything a surprise. Are we back? I'm so sorry. What is going on? I don't know. Are we back? Can you tell me if you can see me? Oh my gosh. I wish you could see. There is something so weird going on. Okay. I don't know what's happening. The YouTube app just crashed. I tried to open it. It crashes every time I click on it, so I restarted my phone and now we're back. But on the upper left-hand corner of my screen, next to a big red live and the number of people watching, is usually a timer that tells me how long we've been live. Currently, it's counting down to 0 from negative 12 hours, 16 minutes, and 45 seconds. Guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm really sorry. This is a weird Tuesday. If we get cut off again, I'm going to try to come back live, but I truly have no idea what's going on. But today I started filming my first independent long-form video. And I went shopping for it, and I came back and I just fell apart on the floor. Like, I dropped my bags and I just laid on my couch cushions for, I don't know, an hour. And then I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And then I think all of a sudden, at like 8 p.m., I just started crying. I think my friend texted me something, and he didn't mean anything bad by it. We were just discussing something like political, and we were trying to dissect the definition of individualism, and I think I was misunderstanding or misinterpreting something, and he was just like, it was like one of those things where in any other mood or emotional state, it would have been fine, but like, I don't know, something in me just cracked, and I just started sobbing while eating my second bowl of dinner. And I don't know what's going on. I'm really confused, actually, because it really feels like my body is not capable of sustaining any singular activity for longer than an hour. And I just get exhausted so quickly, and I don't know if anybody else has had this side effect from COVID, but it's kind of scary to deal with because I don't know when it's going to end, and it just makes me feel like pretty disabled, actually. And the fact that it transitioned to this state so quickly for me is a bit of a whiplash, and I think mentally I'm just struggling with my physical decline. Um, and I'm trying to process it. And I went live tonight purely selfishly, um, Ram, selfishly to set myself a deadline by which I would be showered and sitting in bed, even if not asleep, because last night I fell into like a really bad place where I just sat at mom's table and like kept eating stuff even though I wasn't hungry. I guess you could call it like a mini binge of sorts. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was like it felt like I had sunk into my worst periods of depression where it's just like you are zombified at night and you know you should get yourself to bed, but you just can't seem to move your way into the shower. And I was like trying to eat to occupy myself with an activity that wasn't going to bed or showering. And it's not happy. It's not a happy place. So what I'm going to do, now that I've accomplished my goal of being in bed and showered by 9:35, is I have with me certain things that I'm going to put on my body to try to make myself feel good. And not in a way that's just like empty, but in a way where you are almost like petting your cat or grooming your horse, but you're doing it to yourself. It makes me sad that I have to phrase it this way because obviously she's not here anymore, but it's almost like I'm mothering myself. So, the first thing is we're gonna put in some leave-in conditioner in our hair. Ooh, that's a fun sound. I bought this in like the first half year of the pandemic because Walgreens had like a 2 for $2 thing, and I haven't finished all of them yet. I think I bought like 4 bottles. It does smell awesome. This is coconut oil and cocoa butter extract leave-in conditioner. Deeply nourishes and smooths frizzy hair and enriched with a natural blend, paraben-free. I don't really know what to do when you hit this emotional low, except to just stay with yourself, you know? It reminds me of those scenes in a movie where there's 2 friends or lovers and Ram, just let me do my thing. Let me make my hair all wrong, okay? Let me just waste this product. You know those scenes in movies where there's 2 friends or lovers and one of them is obviously dying and not gonna make it, and the other one's just like, you're gonna make it, you're gonna be okay. And I think going through these moments when you're depressed is kind of like that, but with yourself. Oh, that's a feng shui no-no? Well, that explains why my whole life is in shambles, isn't it? I don't know if the mirror is the only thing, honestly. I think it's a lot of things, y'all. that one character is dying, um, what can you do? You just witness it, right? Um, so, conditioner in. Freddie isn't here. Freddie is in Woodside. I'm not in Woodside anymore. Well, so it's facing the foot of the bed. I could also put it there, but then it would be facing the side of the bed. I don't know which one's better. So you're just saying I shouldn't have a mirror in the bedroom at all? I kind of like it there. I don't know what to say. Next, we're going to put some of this Canna Floria Essentials Be Soothed, Feel the Relief oil. It's a oil roller. I got it from the free table before the pandemic at work. It smells a little bit like sweet muffins and Barbie and like not mean Barbie, nice Barbie. A little bit citrusy, like a little lime orange mix. It's nice. So that's done. And then we're going to do something for our hands. I didn't put the roller on in the freezer. So I told you guys that A&D has been really good to me, and I thought that was true, but it turns out it's not just A&D. It's also this other thing that I got from the free table at work once upon a time. Oregano, but spelled K-N-O-W. It is a natural dermatologist recommended skin healing protectant. Oregano's potent antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties soothe, hydrate, and help heal wounds faster, naturally. Feel it smooth, feel it soothe, know it works. We're gonna cry. Crying doesn't mean you're not strong, Juno. Crying doesn't signify anything except your body needs to get rid of some expression through the form of water that tastes a little bit slippery, salty. Oregano skin healing protectant. Somebody sponsor me, please. Here's my best ad voice. Oregano skin healing protectant utilizes the oregano plant's remarkably potent antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial properties to soothe, hydrate, and help heal wounds faster, naturally, without the use of antibiotics. Feel is soothed, know it works. University tested and dermatologist recommended. Active ingredient, petrolatum, 95%. Inactive ingredients, water, oreganum vulgare, leaf extract. So it's basically the same thing as Vaseline, but with oregano. And it actually works much better than Vaseline. Salty tears are my favorite snack. Oh, you guys are commenting fast today. What the hell is slugging? You never explained it to me. I don't wanna have League of Legends as my sponsor, please. Okay, so I do this little dollop. It looks like worm poop. Honestly, that's what it looks like a big fat slug poop. But what can I say? It works. Oh, is this a carcinogen? Fantastic. I mean, listen, all of my life is carcinogens. Like my mattress is made out of carcinogens, probably. It's all this kind of foam, latex, whatever shit. So yes, I do use this mixed with AD&D, A&D, and AD&D. I've been thinking about ADHD too much. I smooth the oregano first, work it in, and then I seal it in with some A&D. So that's what I'm doing right now. Listen, slug poop is kind of cute. Marcel the Shell is in. We are already on board with snails. Slugs is just one costume change over. Does it have a scent? Yeah, it kind of does. It used to be much stronger smelling to me, but I kind of feel like COVID took it away. So, thank you for the nice words. I don't feel like I'm a terrible person or anything, but if you've gone through depression, you probably have some inkling of this sense of inescapability. So I don't really wear the gloves anymore. They get kind of nasty quick and they don't really wash well. So no, not unless my hands are really fucked. And then I apply a layer. Wow, look at me being a beauty vlogger. Of A&D. Drinking oregano as tea can be healthy. Okay. Kazakhstan. Hello, thank you. Yeah, some people have recommended acupuncture to me. I'm not sure, I've never had it done. Would it be unreasonable to have a movie night with Aaron? Well, Aaron actually doesn't like watching movies much anymore. Yeah, I mean, okay, so Alicia's comment is, I can't tell you everything will be okay, but I can tell you I'm right there with you. And sometimes that's all you can do, is just bear witness to the shit. That's it. Oregano and sweet marjoram I don't think are quite the same, but they look very similar and they kind of taste a little bit similar too. So now we have our hands lathered. Yeah, I can still meet up with Aaron, but honestly, with long COVID, I've had friends who have reached out saying they want to like meet up and hang out, but I just, I don't have the desire to anymore. I don't have the energy, like my mental space isn't stable enough to want to have a social life of sorts, and I do miss seeing the friends, and I want to be that person who has enough battery in her to do stuff, but it's like, the best way to describe this is, you know how sometimes you have a fully charged phone when you go out and it's really fucking cold outside and you look down at your phone 5 blocks out from your house and it's suddenly gone from 98% to like 54 in the span of 15 minutes, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then barely 40 minutes out, you're down to like 9% battery. That's kind of whatever you want to call this, long COVID or whatnot, I don't know what it is, but that's kind of what it feels like right now. It's like you charge yourself. You feel like you could be doing this. And then it just like cuts out of nowhere. So that's kind of what I'm going through now. So it's a little bit anxiety inducing because I just know it from the bottom of my heart that I wouldn't be able to actually finish hanging out. Like I can make it there, but I won't be able to like enjoy the process fully, and it's just going to feel draining, and I don't want hanging out with friends to be a drain on me. So Okay. Our hair conditioned, our hands conditioned, and I will only give myself time. And now we're going to, this is Mom's jade roller. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of like a disconnect, so I use white electrical tape to tape it in place. But I figured this is a nice way to relax and be self-soothing and think of Mom in a nice way. I don't think she ever used this. This was found in the closet. Mom had so many things she never used. I would love to get the air bubbles out of my face. Unfortunately, my face feels very bloated today. I had very bad self-image today while filming. I looked at myself on the feedback screen and I was like, June, darling, you look like bloated bread floating away in the gutter of New York City. And you know what? I just finished filming because I was like, y'all are used to watching me being whatever shit state I'm in, and this is all part of the realness, you know? However I feel about myself, I am here in the now, and I am doing what I can. And it's weird because you're like, man, I don't like the way I look. And how did you end up looking like this so quickly from not looking like this? That's what those days feel like. But I allow myself to be, and I accept it. And there's no need to make myself feel worse about it. I think, you know how they say, what did they say? Comparison is the thief of happiness. I think what I've realized in the past 2 years is that the worst comparison that I can never escape, no matter how much social media I distance myself from, is the comparison of my current self to my past self. And that's really hard to escape. But I think the key is to not escape it. Because just like Oedipus, the harder you run, the harder it catches up to you. So I'm just here. I'm feeling it. I feel the discomfort I have towards my own body, and I allow it to sink in, and I allow it to take up my existence until it becomes incorporated into me. Well, Oedipus got the prophecy that he was going to fuck his mom and kill his dad, and he was like, ain't gonna do that. And he fucking ran away, and he ended up fucking his mom and killing his dad, right? Something like that? I don't know, it's been a while, y'all, but I'm pretty sure that's the gist of it, right? Have I introduced you to my childhood friends yet? I feel like I have. This is Madeline. My dad gave her to me in 1995. She's missing a bow on one of her leather shoes. And yay! She just got washed. She's a little traumatized at being washed in the laundry machine, but it was really time for a wash. She's very old because she's been with me since 1996, so she's like ready to be married in Georgia. And then we have my Dalmatian dog. She's been through a lot too. She was the only person with me when I got my kidney biopsy when I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10, when I had my kidney disease. And they were like, we need to figure out what the fuck is wrong with you. And I remember the doctor was trying to distract me. What's her skincare like? I tried to put oil on her face. She still has a scar from that oil. The doctor tried to distract me from the procedure by asking me what her name was. And at the time, I couldn't decide between Cherry, in which she would be gendered a girl, or John, in which she would be gendered a man, or, you know, like a boy. God, what a weird concept. It's a stuffed dog, for God's sake. And most of the time, I just ended up calling her Gogo, which means doggy in Chinese, like puppy, which is not very gendered at all. But I remember the moment I started saying what her name was, the doctor stabbed me with that biopsy needle, and I just remember like bawling my eyes out, and they wouldn't let my parents into the room. So like all my mom heard was just me screaming. And I feel like I remember my mom like making all this commotion because she didn't know what the fuck was going on inside the operation room. So that's my biopsy. As in the cartoon, yes, Madeline. Those are the two buddies right there. And here's my alpaca friend, Chelsea from Delish. Gave me this alpaca friend. I believe she's made of alpaca. And I did wash her too, which is why her ears are now shrunken. I've kind of ruined her. But she's still cute, and Chelsea gave me this in the first year of the pandemic when I was going through like a really depressive slump. And I think she ordered this off of Etsy and had it sent to my house. And she's very cute. Hi, Houston. Oh yeah, there you go. Edit this. Let's not be him. So that's my show and tell. And we're back to the face rubbing now. I was also excited to test out this live in which there would be no cooking content and no eating content either, because I realized that the live I did a few days ago where I didn't cook at all and just basically snacked while talking to you guys somehow ended up having double the average ad revenue on it. And I'm trying to like suss out what the algorithm is trying to tell me, although I don't think that's possible. The algorithm is never going to be transparent. But it's very weird because I always assumed that the more cooking I do, the more people like to watch, and therefore the more advertisers like to advertise, and therefore the higher the ad revenue. But it don't make no sense. I also wanted to thank you guys for all of your input on my poll about what kind of content you want to see. It's very interesting. I know all of you want all of the above, but it's still very interesting to see the ratio breakdown, which I feel like almost function as a communal ranked voting result, you know? New here. Welcome, Gabriella. You have no idea who I am and you're watching? Wow. I'm happy to open the floor up for group therapy. If anybody wants any topics discussed, I'm just gonna be cooking there. Or not cooking. Did I say cooking? Jesus. I'm just gonna be rolling here. Maybe I'll do some stretching while I'm at it, but throw me your thoughts. Paintball gear reviews was not even a choice. Did you put a write-in for that? I do need a picnic in bed, huh? This is $1,000 mattress though, and I didn't buy the $100 10-year warranty for accidents. So if I spill shit on it, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. How to deal with childhood trauma. There's actually, I don't remember his last name, but his first name is Patrick. So if you look up Patrick LCSW, LCSW, Patrick Tegan, maybe? It's perhaps. He has a great channel on YouTube all about how to deal with childhood trauma. I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested. But Patrick Therapist, just search for it on YouTube. You might see it. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna make tiger balm. That shit is for sale. Why do I need to? Any interest in spoken word poetry? Abso-fucking-lutely. I love reading poems out loud. Now, I know spoken word is a very specific type of reading poetry out loud, but genres are meant to be blurred. I mean, has anyone thought about how amazingly fluid and versatile SZA's new album is? Have y'all listened to it? That was my homework assignment for you. Fuck, man, listen to SZA's new album. The way that she just like fluidly flows into all these different genres, many of them nostalgic for kids who grew up in the 90s, by the way, and early 2000s. It just works somehow. Like, I don't know how, but she manages to tie together like at least 6 different genres on that album. Some of them are hybrid genres. It's amazing. I've been taking vitamin C every day. No pooping. I spoke with my therapist who mentioned meditation as an alternative. I mean, meditation is always great. This mattress is called the Dream Cloud. Somebody recommended to me in a comment, and I looked it up, and it said it was firmer than most hybrid mattresses, so I decided to give it a try. The Sleep Foundation has great in-depth mattress reviews for anyone who's looking to invest in a new pricey mattress. I looked it up, and it turns out all of the Sleep Foundation review specifics for this mattress is entirely correct. It is great for back sleepers. Unfortunately, I'm a hybrid back and side sleeper, and I weigh under 130 pounds, and they said that for side sleepers who weigh under 130 pounds, it can be too firm, and I can definitely confirm that it is too firm for me. My elbow and arm joints, like shoulder joints, start hurting after a while, and I wake up from it because it is too firm. Like, it's not soft enough for me to stay in that position. So most of the time I just end up on my back, which is fine. It's probably slightly better for my spine anyway, but good thing to note. Hi, California. Am I into hip hop? Yeah, sure, why not? What is the face rolling for? I actually don't know. I think it's meant to just like be a face massager. Maybe it relieves bloating, but I don't know. It's like a Chinese instrument that ended up being super hyped in North America like a couple of years back, and now all these bougie brands are making jade rollers now, but this one is from China. Linda says, June, in the future when talking about suicide, you might want disclosures. Sure. But the nature of these lives is unpredictable topics. People say something in the comments and I roll off of what they say. It's a very organic unfolding of conversation, and sometimes difficult topics come up because difficult topics exist in life. I think when you come into these lives, people will learn to have to be ready for some of those conversations, and they also always reserve the right to tap out, right? I'm not saying that I'm condoning any sort of well, I don't know what I'm saying, actually. I know our culture is all about content warnings and trigger warnings now, but a friend actually sent me a podcast a couple of weeks back, and it was talking about anxiety. And it was talking about these studies they did on a college campus where a portion of the student body was given trigger warnings and a portion wasn't. And actually the portion that got trigger warnings had experienced more anxiety. I don't know what trigger warnings are doing to us. I know that there's a very particular portion of the population who have gone through very traumatic events who need such warnings, but as a whole, what is it doing to us to always be prefacing something with a warning? It's priming us to react in a certain way. And in a way, trigger warnings are actually sustaining the taboo order. It's basically saying, this topic is usually taboo. We are going to talk about it now. Be careful, because this topic is not normal conversation. And I feel like my whole thing on these lives is to normalize the currently abnormal topics that I feel like should be normal. Why is it hard for us to talk about suicide? Why is it hard for us to talk about rape? Why is it hard for us to talk about depression? Why is it hard for us to talk about shame? Why is it hard for us to talk about being disliked? Why is it hard for us to talk about hating other people? Why is it hard for us to talk about hating ourselves? Why is it hard for us to talk about how we don't like the way our bodies look? Why is it hard for us to admit that we have disordered eating? Why are all of these things that we tend to hide from other people, even friends and family? Why are these things that we tend to run away from in our own minds? And how do we stop running away from them so that we can finally work towards peace within and without? How do we live so that we are not constantly fighting against these very commonly occurring things? What is the culture of taboo doing to our minds and our practices and our social lives and our ability to just accept our existence as it is in whatever sort of perceived broken form it happens to be in? That's all. Hi, Thailand. Catching up on comments. No concerts for me. I'm not a concert person. What is my preferred way of smoking weed? I only have like a little bowl pipe thing. I'm not fancy. Timothy Ward. Is he my new role model now? I don't know the difference between jade and rose quartz, honestly. I'm not a crystal girl. I just use whatever mama left me. Yeah, so Gary said, I feel more so that trigger warnings are a helpful way of avoiding re-traumatizing people, but you can't necessarily plan your emotional thoughts ahead of time to curate the emotions of others. And that's the other big thing in our world, right? Like, constantly in my own personal relationships, my main gripe is the lack of communication. And it's really a tall order for me to expect another human being to be able to communicate with me the way I want them to communicate with me. Um, it is like an endless zoning into perfection of communication. And we can't live our lives in anticipation of others' needs because that in itself forms a sort of anxiety. And anxiety creates anxiety. Anxiety is a spiral. That's the most terrifying thing about anxiety, is that it feeds on itself. And the black hole gets blacker and darker and bigger, and it swallows you whole if you let it grow. Um, so again, in terms of like not running away from things, especially not running away from yourself, um, some people are still too traumatized from past occurrences that they can't afford to be re-traumatized by being exposed to discussions of topics surrounding their original trauma. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes exposure therapy is the only way to really fully be able to sit with and face and confront isn't the right word, but maybe more so make peace with the past. But I don't have an answer. Do what works for you, you know? I can only do me. I can't satisfy everyone. And, you know, there's two of us here. There's me, obviously. I'm in control of the live. I'm in control of the direction of the conversation to a certain extent. But there's also you. You who have the ability to tune in, tune out, and to never see me again. Much like a date. And the best thing is, you can ghost me, and it wouldn't even be an offense. Actually, it would be preferred. In this case, ghosting someone because you don't agree with them or you don't like them is perfectly acceptable. You don't need to make your announcement that you're leaving. But you're more than welcome to leave feedback if I really hurt you and you want to see me change for the better. I am a servant of the people. I can sometimes get into going to the movie theater, but I actually really like watching movies on my own at home. I'm a very private person in terms of media enjoyment. I don't like absorbing the energy of other people. I just want to be alone with the art, if that makes sense. How do I microdose weed? I don't really know what counts as microdosing, but I can tell you that most of the time when I smoke, I usually just like inhale 3 to 3.5 times. I just pack a tiny little bit. That's it. Jonathan says, I see trigger warnings as a way of respecting consent. That said, you can't always anticipate what will trigger someone. It's a hard line, right? Yeah, I guess, for people who like hop into a live for the very first time and they have absolutely no clue who I am and what I tend to talk about, it can be a shock to have your first live be a discussion around suicide. But I guess for the folks who are more considerate and maybe less COVID brained, like this live has become a community in which y'all are basically a supporting chorus for me. So if you ever feel like we're wading into territories that might be hairy for some folks, feel free to just like put in all caps, trigger warning. That way you can warn the newcomers and me. Like if you say trigger warning, I will take note of that and I'll probably announce it when I see multiple people type that in the chat. Just a way for us to kind of communally take on the consideration of others, I guess. It's a lot to keep everything in mind when I'm just stuck in my own head. These lives kind of make me zone into my own ego a bit, so where's a rut inside the brain? Can we discuss parental expectations? What about it? Every parent has expectations for their children, but are we responsible for it? I only go on Twitter to post about union stuff. I don't really use it as a platform. I'm not really terribly active. Linda says, telling an audience to commit suicide is fucking irresponsible as an influencer. I'm sorry. Is that really what I did? Linda, I believe the viewer in that episode was posing a question because she was stuck in a hard place where she was trying to decide if committing suicide was the option that would bring her the most peace. And we discussed it. And I do believe at one point I said, this is a decision that you have to make for yourself because only you know the details of your situation. And if suicide is the best option for you and will bring you the most peace and happiness, then that's your choice. I don't take back any of what I said. I stand by it. I did not really intend for myself to be an influencer. I'm simply here talking shit out my butthole all the time. And if anybody wants to eat shit out my butthole, they're more than welcome to. And if they don't like to eat shit out of someone's butthole, they don't have to. So you don't have to. I'm tired, baby. Oh, Linda. That's the thing about the internet, though. They will take a sound snippet, they will catch onto something that triggered them, and because they were triggered by a particular part of what you said, they will hold on to that part, strip it of all the context, strip it of all the remaining meaning, and just restructure and redefine your words and contort it out of your intention and reinterpret it in their intention. And that is what Roland Barthes called the death of the author. And it happens very quickly now in our world. You don't have to write a book, have people read it, and in 1 or 2 months or years have people completely misconstrue your intentions and your meanings. It happens within seconds. You say something, someone gets triggered, someone says, you're a piece of shit, you deserve to be canceled, and here we go. The fire has started, right? Instead of rubbing sticks together to create that combustion, we just have a match or a lighter, and boom, we got it, right? Prometheus. We have all become him. Hi, in Flint, Michigan. Yeah, how do so many people have so much energy to be mad? I ain't got that energy, bro. Oh, man. But anyway, now that we spent all that time dissecting cancel culture, what have we done for ourselves today to bring ourselves peace? I would love to hear what y'all have done to give yourself a little bit of a breath. June says, Gary, I know you professionally decided to ignore my question, but I'm unprofessionally asking again, what is a poem that makes you happy? You know, I wish I can recall a poem like that off the top of my head, but I am a complete heathen, and despite having an English lit major, cannot recite any other poem except the first line of Il pleut dans mon cœur comme il pleut sur la ville. That's it, because my 8th grade French teacher made us fucking memorize that shit and recite it. I don't remember the rest of it. I just remember the first 2 lines. It's been like half my lifetime now, so I don't love that poem. I just remember it. Hi, Beijing. How y'all doing? My uncle and his family, the entire family got COVID within days. I hope you're doing well. I hope you don't have COVID. It seems like it's spreading like wildfire everywhere in the world, honestly. Your mentor resigned today. Shit. Oh, God. It sucks. June, have you noticed any monetary differences in the lives where COVID is mentioned in the title? Because it gives a warning anytime a viewer opens those videos. The Thanksgiving one actually brought in quite a chunk. Like, I think the Thanksgiving one brought in like $80, which is 4 times the usual. And the butter tasting one that was really short before I had to run off to my virtual union rally stream brought in like 50 or 60 bucks. So I had COVID in both those titles, but I guess butter taste test and Thanksgiving in the title really got some eyeballs, so maybe that's why. Most of the COVID ones, plus the ones that followed the COVID series, let's call it, have averaged about 20 bucks to 23 bucks. I don't actually know if YouTube bans me for saying exactly how much money I make. It might be a violation of the rules, but we'll see, guys. Any day now. Any day now. My accounts on Instagram, on YouTube, they could all just be shut down for no reason at all because these platforms always retain the right to cancel you. And one day I will just disappear. And you'll be like, where the fuck did June go? Is she alive? If a tree falls in the forest and it doesn't make a sound, did it fall? If a person disappears off of social media, did they ever live? Oh, il pleut dans mon cœur comme il pleut sur la ville. Comment cette longueur qui pénètre mon cœur? I guess I remember the next two lines. Oh my god, jellyfish, what the fuck? Are you serious? Still, people are still dying from COVID, huh? Jesus. I'm really sorry to hear that. That must be like just a nightmare to kind of relive the situation of losing someone close to you to COVID. I feel like I would just be so resigned and tired of it to like even feel the grief in a way. I feel like 25 to 30% of me would be in such like horrific tortured pain to see it happen again, and then the rest of me will just be like, of course it's happening again. What the fuck did I expect otherwise? It's like a nightmare on repeat, right? Your landlord just raised your rent 22.2% after renting from him for 16 plus years. Wow. That's a lot of money. My landlord barely raised the rent during COVID. He's a good one. I know, right? It's kind of an oxymoron to say he's a good landlord, but in terms of the choices that we have, he's as good as it gets. My old landlord used to be a fantastic person. He still is. Yeah, a couple of people have asked. I think I've made it clear in past lives that I am no longer with Delish. I haven't explained myself and my situation fully yet, but I think before the end of the year, I will be ready to talk about it. But for right now, I think it will just suffice to say that my last video with Delish was the Budget Eats in the Wild Astoria episode. And I think quite a few people enjoyed that, so I'm very happy that my final videos were beautifully edited by the team. Special thanks to Zach. My god, Zach. Zach has carried that Budget Eats editing train for fucking 2.5 years. Probably destroyed his soul 5 times over by now, at least. Could not have done any of the Budget Eats without him. And the rest of the team, of course. I feel like I'm giving an Oscars acceptance speech here, but like truly, Ali Felina, our old art director, plus Sarah Saniceros, both responsible for those beautiful grocery haul illustrations. And then Vineet is our graphic animator who does all the animations for the episode. Julia is our video director, and she really puts that finesse on the editing cuts. Like she gives such good notes on the video drafts and just makes them so perky, and she paces them so well, and she's obviously just like kind of my professional therapist. Whenever I have a breakdown of sorts, she calms me down and guides me through a process and helps me script things and structure things. And Philip is our post-production supervisor, and he's just the warmest, kindest person. So it's been a wonderful time working with a wonderful team. And I'm very sad to not be there anymore. I used to do walking videos back when I was first learning how to edit my own stuff. You'll see it way back on the timeline of this channel. I didn't do any voiceover. It's literally just a cut of all the footage that I took on the walks. Barely got any views, but it was practice for me. Bye, Kit. Oh my gosh. I am a class traitor. My landlord was so kind. He gave us like $100 discount during the pandemic. I don't know. He's just been very responsible and quick to fix things, and he's been very reliable. And I can hardly say that about any other landlord. Can you tell us how you first felt when you got the job at Delish? When I first got the job at Delish, I was a freelance test kitchen assistant. It was my second time applying to the role, 6 months apart. The first time I applied, I heard absolutely nothing back from the application submission. The second time I applied, I name dropped a cookbook author who I had interned for a couple of months in helping her test her recipes for her cookbook publication. Her name was Lindsay Maitland Hunt. She has 2 cookbooks out. Very kind person, and was very patient with me and taught me a lot of recipe testing techniques. And I name dropped her, and it turns out that she was friends with the food deputy editor at Delish at the time, which is how I got my foot in the door and got an interview, and they liked me enough and they hired me, and the rest is history. I was pretty excited to not be in restaurants for sure. N. Wong says, I hope this leads to bigger and better company you will work at where the employees are treated better. I'm not sure if there are companies that are this size and bigger that treat their employees better. Unless they're employee owned, like King Arthur Flour. I truly don't know if a corporation is capable of treating their employees better. I just don't think the nature of corporations allows for treatment of workers um, that is justified in terms of respecting their humanity and individual contribution and talent and manpower. I think the general structure of the corporation is to squeeze. And I don't really want to be in a meat grinder anymore, you know? Um, and all of them are so anti-union, even if they have a union, like the New York Times. Um, so it's just really tiring to see that happen over and over again. Not to say that I wouldn't be fighting for unions. We have to. We have to stand up for unions. We have to join all of the push for all of the unionization because that's the only way that workers stand to have a voice and to be treated more fairly. Um, so it's a never-ending fight, but it's tiring. So, take your breaks. It's a marathon that you will never finish running. Anxious Scary says, I remember early in the unionization process, you said something along the lines of, they try to make you feel like you've made it because you have to ride up a big elevator. Yeah, in the first union busting meetings, the messaging was, Hearst has a history of taking care of people. It's a choice you make to work here, and you don't have to work here. And believe it or not, almost 3 years after that was said by our ex-president of Hearst Magazines, my direct manager echoed the same sentiment in about as many words to me in a meeting. So that's just the culture. That's just the culture. It's not a good culture, guys. It hurts everyone. Kelly Watson says you have to let go of the old to make way for the new. Man, that reminds me of a Chinese saying that my mom used to love telling me whenever I lost something or something broke and I got really sad. And she used to say, 旧的不去，新的不来, which means if the old doesn't go, then the new won't come. So yes, Mom agrees. I hope she's not too sad because she really liked me at my job. I think it was the first time in my life I remember my mom feeling like I was secure career-wise because I had always worked very piecemeal jobs before then with restaurants and FEMA-funded social work, all very periodic, all very unstable, all very low salary and no benefits and all of that. But I think in a lot of ways, it's funny because a lot of the choices I've made in my life in the past year, I've made because Mom's died, and that changed the way that I've thought about things. But the repercussions of those actions, I think, would hurt Mom very much if she saw them happen to me because they've destabilized the
security that she's always aimed for me to have. And it's funny because I feel relief sometimes that she's not here to witness the turns my life has taken. I don't know how I feel about that actually. I haven't really fully processed that emotion yet. The sense of relief that she's not here and the sadness that she would be sad for me if she saw this happening. The advice she would give me to try to stabilize my life a little bit, and the resistance I would give back, because I want to make my own choices and be stubborn and contrarian. And yeah, it's contrarian to common sense, but sometimes common sense doesn't make sense. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of things just don't make sense. So, oh man, I would love to do voiceover work. Are you kidding me? Somebody left a pretty mean-spirited comment on the Astoria food tour video where they said she has a face for radio. And I responded, but do I have a voice for radio? I would love, I would love to have a voice for radio. Isn't all yogurt cultured? Yeah, I mean, union busting is so normal. It's just what we've come to expect. None of these companies will make you have a union easily. It's just not the nature of the game. The nature of the game is to squish and squash and conquer. Maintain power. Hoard it. Hoard all of the wealth. Hoard the dynamic. Seek control. Deny death. In a fucked up way, Gary says, it must be slightly comforting to know she's not stressing over you anymore. Incredibly so. It's been so freeing. I do miss mom, but I love the ability of like getting a tattoo without thinking, oh shit, what's mom gonna say? And just doing stuff that feel reckless, because most of my life my mom has exalted the virtues of playing it safe. But I feel like I've seen mom try to play it safe and it still ended the way it ended, so safety is an illusion, as was all things. So we all decide for ourselves on a daily basis which illusions we want to hold on to, and if it contents us and fulfills us and keeps us afloat, then hold on to all of the illusions that make you momentarily happy. But if it doesn't serve you and begins to entrap you, consider letting it go and maybe substitute it with other illusions, or just be open. There are a lot of possibilities out there. So many viewpoints and so many choices, and it's overwhelming sometimes. and you don't know where you are going to go or where you want to go, and you think you are lost. But not knowing where you want to go isn't the same as being lost. Lost is actually also an illusion. Being lost is a narrative that you have to create for yourself that insists there is a right place to be. What if there isn't a right place to be? Or what if there isn't just one right place to be? What if there is no wrong place to be? What would that mean for us in terms of gauging where we are at now? What's a retrenchment exercise? I have no idea what that is. Can't wait to identify which characters you voice over by how they say yeast. Y'all are so funny. Lala complains all the time that they give her leftovers, but only because they're like pasta and chili and just like things that are mushy and shapeless. So she keeps insisting that they only give her the leftovers, but you know, everybody gets the leftovers because they're not leftovers. They're literally just big trays of food that they put on a plate for all the patients there. Like, I have to say, the amount of tough skin I've developed, not literally tough skin, like metaphorical tough, but also literally tough skin. But anyway, besides the point, 2.5 years of being a very public face on YouTube for my work and receiving all kinds of comments has really like worked calluses into my mental health in a way where I don't feel the comments anymore. So like when I read that comment about she has a face for radio, I laughed. And my immediate thought was, let's troll the troll back by asking if I have a voice for radio. Because truly, like, I've seen them all. Like, people have complained that I don't use enough makeup, that like the bare face look isn't for me. But that's kind of the point. Like, very few people put up videos that features their face so prominently without putting up like a look. But that's a lot of labor, you know, to finesse your face, to paint it artfully. My point was to make food and experiment. I didn't want to look like a piece of shit, so I did, you know, wash my face for the most part, not on some days. When it got really bad, mental health-wise, it's really hard. And I moisturized, and sometimes I put on concealer if like things were too bumpy, and I put on, you know, Glossier cloud paint as blush, and I use that, you know, smudge method to do the cheeks and do the lips and do a little bit of like border drawing and a little bit on the corners of my eyelids just to like make it cohesive and natural looking. Like I put in the work. I just didn't go full put in the work because my emphasis was on the food, and I also wanted to show people what a face can look like. It can be puffy and bloated. It can be swollen. It can be depressed. It can be sweaty. It can be oily. It can have a zit. It can have two zits. It can have wrinkles. It can have spots. The amount of people who have told me to get this spot checked out because they're worried that it's skin cancer, like, listen, baby, I'm worried too, okay? But, like, that's on me. um, so, yeah. Kind of being on the internet means you absorb everyone's anxieties that they vocalize. And as you can see, I talk on the lives more intimately than I talk in real life to my friends sometimes, because it is so much easier to just be a one-sided interaction sometimes. It feels like being in a confessional booth, but to 1,000,000 people. But that's kind of what makes the internet both scary and beautiful at the same time. The amount of anonymous vulnerability that flies around, the ugliness that people show, and the sweetness that people show, the generosity that comes through. And it's just such a mixed bag. And, you know, if you like flea markets, the internet is the place to be. Lucy says, I read somewhere that once our parents are gone, there is, emotionally, nothing left standing between us and death, for better or worse. Wow. Is that true, though? I wonder, because my mom lost her dad, my grandfather, when I was in middle school. Obviously, her mom is still alive. That's the grandma that I'm still taking care of. But I think my mom always, like, still feared death so much. She never even visualized it. So she couldn't have seen this coming. It did just really ambush all of us, her especially. But I do resonate with that statement. I do feel like I could die at any moment, and my only real sadness would be that, like, grandma would be here alone. And maybe my dad would be extremely sad too, but I don't see him very much, so. He's also currently capable of taking care of himself, but yeah, grandma would be really sad. But other than that, I can go anytime. Hearst hasn't done massive layoffs, but some people at other brands have been let go. I think November is a time when a lot of companies do rounds of layoffs, but since I had already departed by November, I am not aware. Yeah, literally, why aren't we allowed to look just like how we look? Like, when did it become unprofessional to not put shit on your face? Who made these rules? And who also came up with the rules of, like, what professional dress is? Do you know how much, like, energy my mom and I wasted when I was in middle school and high school to go shopping for clothes that are, like, formal and presentable and professional for things like debate team and, interviews and exams, and it's just like none of those clothes stayed with me because I never felt comfortable in them. I never felt like I embodied the persona that those clothes called for. And in fact, when Mom died, I gave away so many dresses that she and I bought together for formal occasions that I never wore once. Dresses that I've had since high school, essentially. Many of which I couldn't fit into anymore. And it just made me so sad to think about like how many weekends my mom and I went shopping for those. And we got so happy when we finally found one that fit and was like not abhorrently expensive. And to think that I never wore them once. How strange. How strange this world that we've all like implicitly consented to being in, with all these rules that a lot of us don't want to play by. And why? I was thinking about people's suggestions about me starting a podcast, and I was thinking that it would be amazing for me to just utilize the video format as a sort of podcast. You know? There are already YouTube shows that like basically are just audio essays. I feel like the pull of a podcast is conversation, so I would need another guest. Does this concept change if you have a significant other? Yeah, I think so. But I don't currently. Not to say my friends wouldn't be sad. I'm sure people who know me and liked me would be sad if I died, but I wouldn't be sad to leave them because I know that they still have other people. They still have other friends, and they have social connections that would anchor them. They have community. Grandma, however, would not. Is living a long life still a goal for most? Yeah, I agree with you. It's not for me. I don't want to live long. I've always said that I would be more fine with dying at Mom's age, early 60s, than I would be with Grandma's age. She's about to turn 95 in a month, and I'm just like, hell fucking no, man. Can't do that shit. KCS says, I wish for you to be free, whole, and embraced wholeheartedly. I wish that for all of us. But freedom is a very scary thing. It is also an illusion. We treasure it as a value and an idea because none of us have really truly achieved it. Very few of us have, and they are no longer tethered in a way to society, which is in itself a horror of sorts for beholders, if not for themselves. But in idea, it's beautiful. Thank you for that wish. I wish that we could all be embraced whole and wholeheartedly. And I do feel like it takes both a community to do that and being able to converse with ourselves more truthfully. There's a lot of barriers to being honest with ourselves. And it's very difficult to untangle it now. because we've all lived with it for so long. What are you most looking forward to, June? I want to make my own content. I really do wish we had universal health care. That's the only thing that makes me kind of scared about being self-employed, honestly. Like, if I don't make enough money, but I don't make, like, absolute dog shit money, then I have to pay out an arm and a leg for health insurance coverage. But otherwise, I look forward to being able to do exactly this, but perhaps using other techniques and skills to vocalize parts of my brain that can connect me to other people, but also help other people connect to themselves and each other. And I want to eat food and share it with you all, and I want to wax poetry about how they taste and feel and what they make me think of and all the ways in which I love life, all the ways in which I hate life. Because those two are never really that far apart. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have combos with you all. Um, damn. Like, what is the best platform for us to do that? Would any of you feel put on the spot if you were to, like, concurrently join me on a live and have a conversation on the live? I feel like Julian, he used to be a comedian on YouTube, but now he does these live streams where he has people call in with, like, really heavy shit. I don't intend on doing that, but it would be awesome to, like, talk one-on-one with you one at a time and learn about who you are and talk about what you want to talk about, answer your questions, ask you questions. Like, hell fucking yeah, I'd be down to do that shit. I just need to figure out what the best platform is. Do you ever think you will move back to China? Girl, I would be arrested and locked up and then disappeared. Like that. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Shariah Baker said, so I learned that if you're having anxiety, you need to yell at your body. Thank you for letting me know, but I got it from here. Yes, but also I feel like the word yelling is kind of like antagonistic in a way. And my therapist really did kind of shift my thinking surrounding anxiety, depression, grief, and all of those negative feelings, quote unquote negative. When he asked me, have you tried befriending your anxiety? And that really shifted the way I looked at these things. Like, yeah, totally, I agree with you. Your anxiety is basically screaming at you because it realizes something could be wrong, is wrong, and it wants you to listen to it, which is why it's so persistent. So the only thing to do is to listen to it and to figure out what is going on. What is it scared of? What is it trying to alert me? And like to thank it. So, yep, you're messaging exactly, but maybe with a little more kind acceptance rather than like antagonistic shutdown. Um, but same vibe, general gist is the same. Bye, Bug Buddy. Image to Uphold says, I want to ask something, but I feel it may be insensitive to ask. I have always said, you are more than welcome to ask anything. I reserve the right to not answer. That's all. But yeah, Gary knows what the deal is. Sorry, I'm really behind on comments. Bye, Jess. I mean, like Gail, we pay a shit ton of taxes too. I think between federal and state, I pay about 40% of my pay away. And we still don't have healthcare coverage. I don't know how high the Australian taxes are. Yeah, I would chat with you, Wooplot. I don't know how to stream a Zoom properly though. Like the one time we tried to do it at Delish, the horrible resolution killed. Yeah, Instagram lives actually would be amazing, but I feel like my audience on YouTube is not my audience on Instagram, and I feel like you guys, I mean, I think there's some overlap. I think I do have a solid core group of people who are willing to be upfront and share personally, but definitely not the same exact crowd. You should totally go on Cameo. Just imagine the things people would ask you to say. It has been suggested to me to go on Cameo, but I really hate the idea of putting myself on Cameo because it feels like an auction lot. And I would only do those cameos for charity donations. I don't really want proceeds for that kind of appearances. I would much rather do shoot try on for more side income, but yeah, those feel like weirdly invasive and personalized in like a not fun way. It does feel very much like a prostitute, and I've done them not on Cameo, but people have like DM'd me in the inbox asking me to say happy birthday to their loved ones who are big fans, and I've always said absolutely, and I've always asked them to donate it to the organization that they think their loved one would like the most. But yeah, those are interesting. Those are draining because I have to acquiesce to the orders of the asker rather than taking control of what kind of myself I'm putting out. Like, just say for instance, if I do like a little cheeky shoe try on featuring, maybe a little more toes than the usual shoe try on, that would be my control over the amount of cheekiness and the amount of reveal. And I wouldn't exactly have to like make to order, if that makes sense. I would love to have people who are not afraid to look stupid on a podcast. Honestly, those conversations are going to be lit. Jonathan says, I would love to know how one befriends their anxiety. So, a while back, when I was trying to do taxes, back in like February, and I had to like do my taxes and mom's taxes, and like the grief was still hitting me pretty hard. It was only like 4 months after the fact. And I had been procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating on doing them. And I finally said to my therapist one day, I was like, I think it's giving me like massive anxiety right now doing taxes. And you know, he was very understanding, and I love him for his way of therapizing, but he basically said, you know, what is your anxiety trying to say to you? And I think I said something like, if I finish doing these taxes and I list grandma as a dependent, my dependent, and I also do mom's taxes for her, that means that I really do have to like fully acknowledge, accept, and pronounce her dead. Because the only reason grandma would be my dependent, the only reason I would be filing mom's taxes for her is that she's no longer here. And on top of the usual tax stresses, that additional layer of emotional recognition of her absence was a lot. It was a lot. And it was very hard to seal that. And he told me in that session, you know, the next time you feel anxious, is it possible to befriend your anxiety and to listen to it instead of fighting it? Because in this instance, in the therapy session, he asked me what the anxiety was trying to tell me, and I dug into it a little bit, and that's what I found. That at the bottom of the anxiety was this unwillingness to face mom's death, and the fear that it dragged up in me of being motherless and alone, and having to grow up all on my own without her, and having to take charge of grandma, all very much on a level recognized and in practice, undeniably so, but the taxes just had to seal the coffin in a way. And so after he told me to try to befriend my anxiety, in the next few days, I tried to apply that principle also to, can I befriend my grief? What is my grief telling me? Can I listen to what my grief is saying? Can I befriend my depression? What is my depression telling me? Can I listen to what it's saying? And it's not like an immediate answer of, oh yeah, I totally get what these things are telling me. It takes time for them to surface and make themselves visible to you. And it also takes time for you to take them in and digest them. And it really takes time for you to integrate them. And you work towards integrating them because that's how you make yourself whole again. Right? Because the way that we antagonize things that we perceive as illnesses, from the physical and biological, like cancer, to the mental and less perceivable ones like depression and anxiety and grief, it is a inner struggle where you are constantly in conflict with yourself. And that feeds the torment because it necessitates a sort of judgmental self-reflection where you are constantly critiquing yourself for not being whole. But ironically, the only way you can be whole is to befriend yourself, not to antagonize yourself, not to blame yourself, not to chastise and rebuke and shame yourself or guilt yourself, but to say, hey, I can see you're hurt. Would you like a fucking hug? And bear witness to it. I've learned that a lot of the times when something difficult is happening to you or to someone else, and you don't have a solution, and there really isn't much agency or control for you to take, that the only thing you can do to help yourself through it, to help another person through it, is just to witness it. In a way, you're not being there for them, you're being there with them. And that can be the hardest thing to do sometimes, because in witnessing something difficult, it manifests to you how powerless and helpless you are. But at the same time, on the flip side of that coin, it is also demonstrating your resiliency in being able to be present through the thick of it. So even through inaction, there is power, simply by staying. It takes work to endure something difficult, even if you can't make the difficulty stop. Now I'm going to be really behind on comments. Yeah, people have been saying that Becky has mentioned me. I saw that she mentioned me briefly in using Gochugaru. That was kind of cool. I've made it into the YouTube canon, folks. Good night, Lisa. Yeah, I'm not gonna go on TikTok. I'm sorry for using the word prostitute. If y'all prefer the term sex worker, sure, fine. I have no problem with that. You know, I'm still thinking about how to be an asexual sex worker. I think it'd be cool. I don't get a lot of feet messages. Actually, several friends have told me how surprising it is that I don't get more disturbing DMs on Instagram. I really don't. But I think it's because I display a certain amount of unconventionality that it reads as crazy, and it actually scares a lot of people away by default. So I'm organically mosquito repellent. It's kind of amazing. Any New Year's resolutions yet? I think I did come up with one the other day, but I forgot it. Probably for the best. Your entire cameo could be you trauma dumping about Texas, June. Sorry for trauma dumping on you literally every single live episode. Have a good night. I think everybody's tapping out, huh? I hope you guys enjoyed watching me roll my face and crying. And I hope you find some additional peace for yourself. Thank you for forgiving me for saying prostitute. Thank you. Yo, you know what? Touchless girlfriend experience. I'm all here for that. All here for that. I'm also really sorry if I don't like make the connections between your presence on YouTube and your presence on IG. Like, I just zap. Sell sexy food descriptions? Isn't that what I already do? See, the other one says these lives in themselves are like podcasts to me. That's kind of the way that I view them, really. They are, kind of. Just more visual. But yeah. I know I mentioned how I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing in a group therapy session on YouTube. Watching it is still remarkably therapeutic. Yep. Yeah, I mean, you know, we could do a live where we could interact almost just purely through chat, like one-on-one. So at the beginning, if we label this group therapy live and then username, we'd then all know, most of us who are not newcomers would know that the chat box should be reserved only for that one user. And yes, you might need to type really fast or just take your time. But that could be a cool anonymous way. There would be no voice. You could make a whole new different username so that you don't have to be connected with your current username. None of us would know who you are. And there would be no skin in the game, so to speak. So that's also something to consider. I would be down for that. Could also be fun to like do a 2-on-1, to have two different people be in a so-called therapy session together on a live. Yeah, I don't have credentials, obviously. We can't call it therapy. I've joked on Instagram that I could just be the friend advice giver, the friend advisor. So we can call it that too. Friend advice. So if you are interested in doing a chat box friend advice session on a live, I guess I can either ask you to DM me on Instagram, or I can make a community post and you can say you're interested under the username that you would be comfortable attending chat in. That way I know which to title the live, and I can, work out a time that works for both of us to do it. That would be kind of fun. Like a Dear Abby. Yeah. Therapy. That spelling is very interesting. You can be the unnecessarily cruel gay man. Is that the persona you want? Yeah, we could call it Dear June. We could also call it What Up, What Up, What Up, YouTube, which used to be my favorite Wii channel, but I don't think he's active anymore. So, yeah, I'll put out a community post. Y'all can comment, reply. No, I don't think you're very mean at all. I think you are just cheeky. You got like 2 fat cheeks. So I'm a tap out. It's been a long live, huh? My countdown's down to negative 10 hours, 22 minutes, and 55 seconds. I will not be doing any more budget eats. That is Hearst's intellectual property. I do not want to touch it. Do not want to get sued. They got a lot of lawyer money flying around. I'm not going near that hornet's nest. So, take care of yourselves, okay? Drink water, eat vitamins, eat chips, whatever makes you happy. Roll your face with jade.